Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is none other than Tuesday, August 2nd, 2011. This is Day 9 Daily number 333, and I paid rent. I feel very satisfied about that. It's actually reminds me that I need to go to Team Liquid and update the fact that I am, in fact, streaming this. I love TeamLiquid.net. They're all so great. Look at this. I went there, and there it is. It tells everyone that I'm streaming live right now. I didn't even do anything. What a great site. So, my roommate, Asher, he watches the dailies, and he's the person that I give my money to, right, when I actually have to, like pay for stuff. And he understood that I had a long weekend at MLG, and that I had just arrived at house in time to prepare for and do Fun Day Monday, and that's when I went live. And I was like, oh, I didn't pay. So, of course, I turned to him, I'm like, later that night, I was like, oh, man, Asher, I can't believe I actually pulled off a Fun Day Monday that went okay, because I was exhausted after MLG, and I just made it back, and I was like, you should check it out, man, it's going to be a good one. And he's like, oh, alright, cool, sweet. So he starts watching it, and it's like, hey, what's up, welcome to the Day 9 Daily, and I didn't pay rent, and he like comes over to me at like 9:30 in the morning, he's like, yeah, I really like the intro to your show, Sean, where's your rent, man? Ugh, brutal. Whatever, that's fine, I gave him a loan. So, let's talk about today's topic. It's going to be what I'd like to call a half and half. I've done these before, but I've just decided to give it a name, which is an important technique to have. I'm certain that when I have a small child, I will just have a baby wandering around until 4, and my 4-year-old, I'll go, this person has some cool personality, maybe I'll give this person a name. And the name that I would give to my daughter, and of course to the style that we're going to look at today, is a half and half. That's right, I would name my daughter Half and Half Plot. What we're going to be doing is we're going to take a look at a game from none other than Mouse Sports Hasu versus FXOsC, and we're going to analyze it from both points of view. This is a really common technique I do a lot and is really important for learning and finding holes in your play and finding holes in his play, because it's very easy to only think about it from your point of view. I even remember there was a period in my life when I only watched games that had Zerg in them. Because I was like, yeah, I'm only going to be focusing on Zerg. This is way back in StarCraft 1, by the way. So I only watched these Zerg games, and I would only watch from the Zerg perspective, and only think about it from the Zerg perspective. Whenever I'd analyze, I would just be, like, totally thinking hard about Zerg. And I would never think about obvious stuff like, wow, Protoss must definitely feel out of control right now because Zerg has Mutalisks. I would never think that. And the only time it actually started to occur to me is when I inadvertently was watching some Pro League matches and I saw from the other person's point of view what it was like. Or when you'd go to a WCG and you'd see what it was like for a Protoss. And without anyone saying anything at all, I would look at this Protoss player, I would look at his screen vision and go, ooh, he has no map control. Oh, that must feel gross. And that happens all the time in Brood War in that matchup. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I wonder if there's anything to announce other than the fact that MLG was awesome, and you should go check it out. I think the VODs are up at mlgpro.com somewhere. I will be doing the Blizzard regionals for the Americas next week. Yeah, me and JP are going to be down at Blizzard HQ doing all the good old stuff. The invite list includes people like Sheth and Huck, people you know and love, and then some really high-ranked ladder players who haven't done as much in tournaments. Players like DDE and Ostoji, I think, are going to be there as well, so that's going to be a lot of fun. You should watch that. I'll be tweeting and twatting all over about it. And of course, if you go to Jinx.com, you can get Day 9 TV t-shirts. Yes! Jinx.com, I have t-shirts, Amanda. And it's going to be good. Let's go ahead and jump into the game and take a look at, first, just what happens in the game. This is a very, very, very short game. We're just going to move it on in. We have, this is Hasu. He is, I think, definitely an undersung player in Europe, actually, of all of Europe. He consistently is #1 ranked player in Germany. He's a very good Protoss player. And as I've told the story a million times. I don't give a shit. This is a funny story. Hasu always tries maximum hard. Like, maximum hardness from Hasu always. I didn't think about that sentence before I said it. He always tries to do as well as he can. Maximum wellness in his games. Even to the point where when you go and watch him do booth work at an event, you know, like a lot of times, like when I was at Gamescom, he was just there doing some show matches and stuff against members of the audience, and like a 10-year-old boy who's only ever played shooter games and Call of Duty, he comes up to the stage, and HasuObs, like, early expands on 14 forges, covering all his base with probes and like void ray rushes. The kid didn't build workers. It was horrible to see this like 10-year-old boy. He's like, he has one hand on his face trying to figure stuff out, and he's like trying to click to build a barracks. HasuObs just like sitting there, click, 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 click. He looked. It was like when the Terminator was trying to find John Connor and would not care that it was a gas station attendant, would like break her neck. Like, just totally heartless. It was amazing. I love HasuObs because Hasu always plays really stable, really straight up. It's really great. In the bottom corner, we have FXOsC, who used to be known as SC4U, who had the epic semifinal match against Nest. And Caldor's great too, but he needs to get out of the game. So, what we're first going to do, and I think this is very important to do in all games, this is actually a very short game. This is the kind of ones that I want to be doing a little bit more. We're going to be doing half and halves all week long. It's going to be a half C week. We have Lazy, who is, of course, FXOsC, because FXO did the whole faux you snaggeroo. So I like to watch through a game fairly quickly right at the outset, just so we can get a good idea of what happened. And when I watch the first run through, I won't necessarily watch through it this slowly. I like to ×4 it, or ×8 it, but that's fine. Because, of course, since this is a daily, I'm trying to introduce the half-C concept to your analysis as well. And we see HasuObs putting 2 in gas. I mean, that's obviously bad. These are things that you always want to look at. We see, looks like it's going to be a very standard 2 racks out of Lazy. There's the second supply depot. I kind of would like to see this first supply depot here in a lot of situations. But HasuObs keeping that alive as long as possible. Early expanding. Okay, so maybe our comment about the fast, or only having 2 in gas is incorrect. Maybe that was intentional by Hasu, who I used to always call HasuObs because I am illiterate. But of course you don't need to be illiterate to do your own web show. You just need to have an on and off button. Bam! Now, this is a great build that gives you a lot of map control. This is a pretty standard situation. And again, we're in the first run-through, we're just getting a good sense of what happens. So I'm going to briefly just pause and say that this is what I call a baseline build or a benchmark build. Anytime I think of something that I want to do in a PvT, I'll say, well, what are the baselines that I need to measure against? If I suck against the baseline strategies, then it's not a good strategy. Classic example, in Protoss vs. Protoss, if your build cannot hold off a 4 warp gate, then it's bad. Always try to see if you can hold off a 4 warp gate. So we do have the 2 racks coming up by SC4U, and he's going to push right when that first Marauder pops. So we see our good friend Hasu now finishing up his Warpengaten, which I'm certain is how they say it in German. And wow, amazingly, we're going to see Lazy not do a fast push. Generally, you see the player push with these pieces. If you look down here, it's 5 Marines, 1 Marauder. Alright, so we're going to see Hasu. He's making a lot of Stalkers. I like this, relying primarily on Stalkers and Zealots for the initial defense. Does have some good old pack of units up on the high ground. Now, when I rewatch through this in half-C mode, I'm going to try to get some focus on how things are being controlled, what the micro's looking like. Should these Stalkers and Zealots have been on high ground or low ground? Should there have been any rearrangement? We see that there's a good amount of workers that have already been killed off by HasuObs. SC4U bringing the workers to the opponent to kill off. And I'm also thinking at this point, what are our transitions? Obviously, the big thing we need to do right now is to not die. Not dying seems paramount at this point. The #1 goal of Terran is to expand. But I'm thinking, do I want to go Robo? Do I want to get another Gateway? Do I want to get a Forge? Forge seems smartest here. I want to say the Forge is the one where I'm going. Another Gateway I don't think can possibly be bad. Or even just getting 3 more Gateways. That seems good. We also see our Terran buddy, wow, actually getting a factory. I guess he's going to be going for a faster starport and just do a 3 racks push? Is that what we're going to see incoming? Or is he actually going to get a nuclear missile? No, that would make me laugh. There's the starport going down. You're noticing what I'm doing is I'm asking a lot of questions in my first run-through. I'm just going to check through to see, what are things I'm worried about? Yeah, well, it looks like that push may have been a little bit bad. Just running through. And I want you, at this point in time, to start collecting questions. Start collecting questions that you would like to ask yourself. Assuming you're going to do a second run-through, you do need to watch through some of your games very quickly. We're going to do some practice halfsies at the end. And Hasu Obs looks like he's getting a forge. Okay, yeah. Getting a couple more units. This looks pretty basic, and what I'm going to assume is that SC4U is just going to attack the front and win. My god, I'm good. It's almost as though I watched these multiple times in a row. By the way, look at Hasu. He's so awesome. Doing the manner. GG. And I'm restarting the game because we're going to be rewatching that in a moment from each player's point of view. What I want to do right now, before we end up jumping into the game, I want to grab some people's questions of what they would like to look at and what questions they had for this game, because this is just the start of a half-see where you look at the overall course of the game, what went on, because you kind of know what the future is, and then we want to walk through and we want to look at one player's point of view. So feel free to just type on some stuff. People talk about how to all-in and all this good stuff. Seems good. And of course, there's always a delay between me saying it and people hearing it. And by the way, I got this shirt at thehandsomernerd.com. Don't think I don't be supporting my broda. Oh yeah, Kingleman asking why the Protoss didn't counterattack when he moved in for the attack. Why didn't Protoss get gateways if he saw a one-basing Terran? That's actually a great question. Let's see here. What was Protoss' response when he saw no expansion? Excellent stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. What can FXOsC assume from the scouting he gets? That's from the CTD 400. Let's see. What does Mule stand for? I don't know. That's incredible. I have no idea. Why didn't Protoss get a Robo is a question from Neo Day. This seems great. How do you win PvT? A reasonable question. And all right, cool. So these are all great. These are all excellent things that people are bringing up. If that attack failed, what could the Terran do to follow up? Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, good. So what we've done is we've established some questions. In our process of rewatching the replay 3 times in a row, we've just gotten done with the first one, and we've given ourselves some questions. I'm going to flip a coin. I'm poor. I have no change. I want to flip a coin. All right, I'm going to do the usual thing. I'm going to get my dice out. This is the dice that I generally use to determine what matchup I'll be playing in the day. All right, so if it's odd, we're going to do Terran. If it's even, we're going to do Protoss. Odd, we're going to do Terran. All right, so let's hop into the game. And now what we want to do is we want to start watching through the beginning of this game from the Terran point of view, and we want to try to look for as many little subtleties as we can. Trying to figure out, why did Terran make all the decisions that he made? For the start of the game, we're going to probably look at a little bit more of the build order stuff. We do have to take a break in just a little bit. In about 3 minutes, we're going to take a brief break. So we'll try to look at as much of the opening as we can. Actually, this is what I want to talk about before we take a break. And then we'll just spend the entire part 2 on our Terran buddy. What we want to do is consider all the possibilities of what we could be up against at all points in time. And we want to talk about slowly cutting them off one at a time. It's very easy to think of it in the opposite order when you're analyzing games. To say, what does he have? But what you want to do is, what you want to say is, what doesn't he have? Because you'll see so many huge botches comes from players when they just think about this, what is he doing point of view, instead of what is he not doing. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So we think of, let's do it the wrong way first. Let's think of all the things that Protoss could be doing. Could he be going for a one base Robo all in? Okay, cool. Is he going for one base Robo all in? Is he going for an early expand? I've just listed 3 strategies that Protoss could do. They might not be all the possible strategies, but you know what? Let's just consider only those 3. The incorrect thing to do is for someone to say, which one of those is he doing? So what happens? As you're going forward, you scout his base and you see he's not early expanding. He's not early expanding. He's not early expanding. Oh, I guess, I've been getting Void Ray cheesed a lot. This guy could be Void Ray cheesing. And then you build a whole bunch of turrets, which aren't very useful, because he runs into your base with a bunch of Immortals and kills you. Ugh, this feels terrible. And this actually happens tons and tons. That example seems obvious, but especially in something like a Zerg vs. Terran, where you'll see a player, you'll see a Zerg player say, well, Terrans are either going mech or going bio. And they cross, or they just try to grab one possible strategy, like, well, he looks like he's going Marines. I'm seeing a lot of them at the start. And then they just try to focus on that. Even me as a random player. When I play random, people just think I'm cheesing, and they just focus on that and try to be anti-cheese. What you need to do is do the opposite. Possibility crossing off. If you see that he's not expanding, you need to think, what's everything I need to worry about? How can I hold off all of those? And what you have closed in on is hopefully a build or 2 that you can deal with in a tractable fashion. So I just want to make sure that mindset twist is in there, in your bed, embedded in your brain, to make certain that you are trying to cross possibilities off as much as possible. So in these games, we're going to be throwing out as many possibilities as we can even humanly think of, so that way we know exactly what we're looking for. Going to be right back in just a second. Going to get some water, and then we're going to jump into part 2 where we look at it from Terran point of view only.